Today we're going to be talking about buying from a new home builder or just maybe new home construction. I don't know what our exact topic is. New home builder?
Buying from buying a new home.
Buying a new home from a new home builder or just buying a home in general?
Buying a new home from a new home contractor.
Okay. Because that's what I did my research on. So
Perfect.
Hopefully that's the topic. So, I started my topic, my research based on my own experiences, really.
Tell us
more. So getting into the stirring side of things, I did kind of like pros and cons of why you might want an agent on your side.
Okay.
So, let me just start out with there's so many builders, so many models to choose from. You really have to think a little bit before you buy because they're all very beautiful. And I looked this up. The NAR says that the average median duration of home ownership in the US is 13 years. So kind of plan out I know I've heard 5 years sometimes.
It used to be. I know it's not anymore.
But I think it's increased. I've actually seen that it's gotten longer. So they said its median is 13 years in the US. And so maybe think a little bit about how you want to live your life during that decade, and see if the home has functionality for that. So let's see. Okay. So if the new home builder cooperates with outside agents, you definitely want to get your own agent. And I have represented several buyers in the past at a new home sale. And one of the times the lady had gotten into contract, and there's kind of two ways. There's like, you can get a referral from the new home builder. So they're the agent for the buyer and you're just getting a referral from it. You don't really have your name in the contract.
Right.
So in this case, it was like that. The buyer was being represented by the new home builder, which I think is interesting because there's this trend away from like dual agency, and yet they're still doing dual agency, right?
Yeah.
And so in this case, they had signed the contract, things were kind of getting started. And then for whatever reason, this buyer kind of wanted to like maybe ask some more questions, kind of like hold a little bit before she wanted to continue. And so the new home builder agent kind of saw this like, oh, you don't want to buy this. So we're going to substitute another buyer into your place. Yes. And so, how they create that sense of urgency. Oh, well, if you don't want it, if you don't do what we want you to, we're going to substitute someone else in there.
That's called takeaway, but whatever.
So I actually had to be like, well, if you look at the contract, you miss new home builder agent, you are representing the buyer. You have now agency with them. You owe them, due diligence. Yeah. Right. And once I brought that phrase up and put that in front of her, they backed out of that whole, like, we'll put in another buyer in your place. Like, they are like, okay, this person knows like the keywords, how to do this, how to push our buttons. Right. So they really, they calmed themselves down.
Absolutely fair. And that's kudos to you for actually bringing up the contract. Any good agent should know their contracts no matter what. And for you to be a referral agent and still know your contract was pretty huge.
So my client was really happy about that. But that's one of my little stirrings in there.
So I will say, when I very first started in real estate, I was a new home agent. So I was on the other side of that desk. And from their perspective, occasionally what seems to happen is an agent will come with their client and they're like, here, okay, I'll be back for my money. Mm-hmm. And that's not all agents. And that's definitely not what we are as agents, you and me, Tina. Mm-hmm. We want to be by your side. We want to be helping you with all the steps. And that wasn't every single one. I just knew when I stopped doing new homes and started doing a resale that I didn't want to be like that. So yes, I do think it's smart to have an agent by your side, because you truly are being represented by somebody who has your best interest at heart. And no matter what, if you're somebody who's working for a builder, all of their pressure is coming from the builder. Their builder wants to hit their numbers, their builder wants to hit everything. And I don't feel like most agents in general can do that, where you can represent two sides and still have it equal.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you come in with somebody who can, you can send them the contract, you can question things, you can have them use the lingo in order to make sure you're being represented. I think it's a super smart thing. It does not go against you. I think that's a huge thing for people to understand. The marketing budget that they use in order to have agents come is totally different from what they're looking at netting on your home. It is completely different. So sometimes too, you'll have the new home agent that will try to say that, oh no, well, if you use that for your agent, you use that really? Then you can get less incentives on your home, and that is untrue.
Yeah. So having helped at a lot of new home sales, I feel like the incentives that they like market with, you know, that's part of the lure. But I don't think having an agent on your side, an outside agent that you bring with you, a friend that you bring with you that's going to watch out for you, would ever take away from those incentives.
No.
Because I think you can let me know too, because you worked in new home sales, but like there's the incentive that they get already, and that's usually like a lender incentive that maybe they can put towards their loan, or they can put towards like upgrades in the house or something. I don't know how like they can use it, but it seems like they can use it for a couple things.
Yeah, so they tend to be tied to a lender using their in-house lender.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's really one of the only ways that they can do it. Now, there are a couple caveats. Like if that in-house lender who's only used to really a paper, who's really only used to specific scenarios, if they're unable to approve you, but an outside lender is, then sometimes you can get them to still give you those incentives. But you may have to just jump through a couple more hoops. And that's why, again, if you have an agent on your side and they're like, oh yeah, they don't qualify, and you're like, well, here's my fully underwritten approval, so they do.
Yes.
And then you can help them and still buy down your rates. That's a huge thing that they're using the incentives for right now.
Yeah, I just saw an email from one of the local builders, and they were offering like kind of a lower interest rate incentive right now. So right now rates are, I'm just going to say about 8%, roughly, maybe even a little bit more depending on where you're looking. And they were offering an incentive of 5.875% interest or the $10,000. But you would have to close before the end of the year. And so, I did a little bit of the math. Hold on. I did a little bit of the math.
Tell us.
Let's see. Okay. So let's say you're buying the principal of $500,000 at 8% for 30 years. So the total interest that you'll pay will be about over $800,000. And then for a 500,000, same principal, 500,000 at a 5.875% interest rate at 30 years, your total interest would be 564,000. So
you're saving 140,000.
I think it's more than that. You're saving hold on, 260,000.
Okay.
Yeah, you're saving 260,000. Just in interest rate changes.
Right.
Yeah, for the same amount of house, same years. So yeah.
And that's a super smart way to look at it. If you can use it to buy down the rate. Buy down the rate.
Yes, definitely buy down the rate. Like 10,000 or 200 something thousand, Right. So
carry the one. I don't know.
Carry the one something. Yeah. Okay. And then you were talking about the lender thing too. I was just talking to one of the lenders I use, an outside mortgage broker, and he was saying kind of the exact same thing. They didn't qualify with the in-home lender, the one that is with the builder, but he was able to qualify them. And so he's been doing a lot of deals kind of like that, to help out at the new home sales because the in-house lender cannot make it work.
Yeah, and it's just that, again, they just tend to see a paper, which is good FICOs, which is just a slam dunk of a deal for everybody.
Right.
And a lot of these mortgage brokers that are out there, they're able to know their craft so well that they know what will help you and be able to talk to their underwriters directly to make sure that you're able to qualify. So
Right.
if you have been turned down by a new home lender, don't give up. Please don't give up, because there really truly potentially could be a way to get you approved. And we're not talking about some shady way, we're talking about legit ways. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I was noticing too with the last new home sale that I helped my buyer with, the lenders seem like they were they just really didn't service him very well. Like they were not attentive, they didn't call back, it's just they take their job for granted. Like they're given these clients and they just don't put the effort in.
Well, okay. So a little bit on their side, they're given hundreds of clients and maybe not adequate people to help them. So I
That's
think
true.
that sometimes we got to give them a little bit of grace. And yeah, it's true though, because I have had several clients who brought new homes and they've been extremely frustrated with the mortgage part. So new home communities, you can do a lot better with that.
Yeah.
If you can make the whole process better, then you're going to get your name even better.
They probably make their money in like quantity versus quality too, because they have so many and their like margins are so little. They have to have just like volumes to be able to make. I don't know.
Well, and I know that's true being a new home sales agent. And again, guys, I was there from 2001 until 2008. So yeah, it was a long time ago, is what I'm saying. One other little caveat and interesting point is builders tend to have a different end of their financial year. So you're going to see a lot of incentives. This is actually a really good time for this podcast for November. A lot of them are end of November. So you're going to see great deals. You're going to see things coming out that you really need to get on. Typically, they do want them in escrow to close before the end of the year. Some of them actually want them to close before the end of November. So today being October 26th, call your agent, get into some new home places and see what's out there, because the incentives are going to be there.
Yeah, the email that I got was like closed by the end of November. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then they said extended, closed by the end of the year. Like, yeah.
Because they know it's going to get a little bit tight.
Right.
Soon for lending. I will tell you guys exactly what I tell my clients when it comes to new homes. I mean, this where I'm at right now, I've been in here 18 years and it is a new home. I bought it when I was with my builder. I love my home. I think that the best thing about new homes is nobody else has used your toilet. Your bum is the first one that's ever graced that beautiful throne. But there are a few things just to be aware of. So your backyard tends to not be done. You have typically, at least in California. So if this is somewhere else, I have no idea. In California, I can tell you. They have a stoop. It's like a 3 foot by 3 foot concrete pad just outside of the slider. I call it a stoop because that's really all you can do on there. You're not going to be able to put a grill. You're not going to be able to do anything. So figure out into your cost what it costs to put in the backyard. If the home is in an HOA, you usually have a time frame that you also need to get that done.
Yeah. 6 months or so.
Yeah. And they want your neighbors to sign off on your plan as well. So just know that's part of it. The other things I had, window coverings. Yep. So one of the things that we don't tend to think about is when you go into a home that's been lived in before, a lot of times those sellers will leave their window coverings. Make sure you ask for them, because they do fit those windows exactly. And in a new home, no, they just don't have them because they've never had to have them, and they're a brand new window. So they don't care.
Yep.
And then the flooring. So majority of builders, they have a markup on what the actual cost is for their flooring. So I would say go in and see what it's going to cost and shop around. You can get the standard flooring at no cost. The only thing that sucks about that is if you get it installed, then you're going to have to take some time after you close to take it back up. and put in what you want. But do it when you first buy it, because if you move in, you may not get around to it, and then you're gonna be really mad that you didn't get what you wanted in the first place.
I wanted to add in too, because I was thinking about that, like whether you want to finance your upgrades or whether or not you want to just pay out of pocket and get it done to begin with. And so let's say your upgrades are like $50,000 at the 8% for 30 years. You're going to be paying interest on that, and it'll be $82,000 extra.
Oh, yeah, that's just, nobody's going to want to do that.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes
But
sense.
sometimes you have to.
Yeah, sometimes you have to. You don't have the money in hand. And another thing going on that too, I had a friend of mine ask me, she's buying a new home right now. She was asking me, so California now, the homes have to have solar, right?
Correct.
Yeah, solar and drought tolerant landscaping, right? Should I buy the solar outright or should I lease it? So I was telling her, I'm like, if you have the money, it's an upfront cost, I would buy the solar.
Right.
But I understand. She's like, well, the payments were a lot cheaper for leasing. I'm like, okay. Like, I get it. You're doing it for you. That makes sense.
Right.
But from like a resale viewpoint, if you purchase the solar, then you would be able to add that value to the appraisal when it comes time to sell.
Right.
Versus leasing it, you would have to, it still will add like some value in the fact that you will probably have, maybe better utility costs, and then you'll be helping the environment, but adding value through the sale, it might actually complicate things because the new owner would have to be able to assume those payments. So if they're thinking, oh, I'm buying a $500,000 home, these are my mortgage payments. Well, you have to add in the lease payment as well on top of that. And sometimes that'll make a person not be able to purchase that home. Right. It's beyond what they can spend. So if you have the upfront money for it, I would suggest buying.
How much do you recall how much your friend's upfront money was going to be?
I'm looking online and it was saying it's approximately maybe 18,000. But I think it depends obviously on how many panels and how much power. So
I know my rule of thumb kind of on solar is if you see yourself staying there beyond 8 years, then it makes sense. If you see yourself maybe 5 to 8 years, then it might make more sense to lease. There's that break point where it doesn't make more sense.
I think it was saying that the break even point was about 7 to 10 years, somewhere around that. So like the 8-year point is a good time frame for that. Let's see. What else? I had so many more examples of me like stirring things.
Oh, tell us more.
A second example of me stirring things at a new home builder was when interest rates were actually going down. So it was kind of just before COVID had just started. And it wasn't really, we didn't have a strategy yet for it nationwide as to what to do with COVID. And so at that time,
what was it supposed to be for 17-day shutdown, something like that?
Right, exactly. And so at that time, interest rates were kind of dropping because they were trying to stimulate the economy, plus other reasons. But so I was working with a client at that time, and I was strategically delaying because my client wanted to have the lowest possible interest rate ever. And so, like you said, the new home builders have a timeline. They're being pushed to close on certain times. And so the agent that we were working with, I had actually worked with her in resale, and she had moved into new home sale. So we knew each other. And but I didn't let that stop me from stirring because, because I'm representing my client. So we strategically delayed. I said, well, he can't meet in person to do these things, COVID. If you're not happy with it, I'm going to escalate this up to your managers. I pulled a
Smart.
Karen,
Yeah.
but it wasn't for me. It was for someone else. So does
Yeah.
it still count as a Karen?
No, I don't think so. You were using your knowledge of what you needed your client to get and what your client wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it wasn't just a, gut response of, I want
Like,
this.
I'm entitled and I want to see your manager.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't full Karen. I said there was a little hint of it, but not really. Yeah, there is that. And another thing too was like for maybe language barrier for my clients that have a language barrier, that was helpful
Right.
for them to have someone
Yeah.
who they could talk to. Also, my out of area clients. So I would be there to do the in-person things. I would use like FaceTime or Zoom so they could do the orientation and do the walkthroughs. They weren't there. I was their like body representative, for that.
I think that's super smart. I think also something for agents, if you're out there and you want to represent your clients, there's a few things to ask. I've had some new home builders that did not want me there at all. They did, and I mean, I felt it. My clients felt it, unfortunately. No matter what, don't bring that in for your clients. Like, you want their experience to be good no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I had clients that adamantly wanted me to come to their final walkthrough. I showed up. I was there a little bit earlier than my clients, and the customer care guy was like, "You agents always ruin everything. You're just here to give me a hard time. Our builder doesn't allow you to be here."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was exactly that direct. And he's looking at me. He's like, "I can tell you don't like what I'm saying." I said, "Hey, here's the deal. My client asked me to be here. My client's my client. I'm going to be here.
Right.
If they tell me to leave, I'll leave.
Yeah,
You're not my client."
exactly.
And to give you history, I used to be a new home agent. So I'm not here just to cause problems. I'm here to actually
I
help
am.
them understand.
I was kidding.
Okay, so if you want a little bit of stirring, go to Tina.
Go to me first, then when you go to Jennifer, you'll feel so much better. No. I mean, not the clients, like the new home builder. If you think Jennifer is bad, meet me.
Just wait till we do that.
Right.
But it's so interesting to me because, and I get it. They had a Karen type, right?
Mm-hmm.
That came just to be entitled. But no matter what, I'm there for my clients. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to scare me.
Yeah.
It's not going to affect me whatsoever. So,
And I think too, when the buyers are buying a new home sale and they want this to be this like smooth, beautiful process, like when you're buying it straight retail, like just even an item, right? Like a brand new iPhone or whatever it is. They're buying it for like, a little bit of that experience. And
yeah,
so, they don't know that things are going to go wrong, or they don't know what to fight for when things start to,
right,
they don't know that they're getting taken advantage of
right,
because they think, oh, this is part of the process. So they don't know that they can ask for these other things, or that they should ask for things to be repaired. Like this last new home sale, did the orientation, we did the walkthrough, just before the close of sale, looking through to make sure they did all the fixes that they said they would do. And then afterwards, there was like parts that we didn't notice, like behind doors. Like I had to stick, my client told me afterwards that in the pantry, there was a giant gap like between the door and the wall where it was just no drywall, it was just wood exposed. And I was like, no one would ever have seen that. No one sticks
right.
their head in and turns around to look out, So yeah, things like that.
And the majority of builders do have a thing for that. And
Mm-hmm.
I tell my clients, like, you're going to see the light's going to come through a different window and it's going to hit someplace that you never would have seen on your walkthrough. And that's okay. Make a list of these things, reach out to their customer care person, usually give it a few weeks so that you're not calling every other day with something you see.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to appreciate that too. But there are going to be things that you see that you just didn't see the first time, and it's okay.
Yeah. They do have a pretty good like like warranty
Mhm.
kind of fixing thing. Like they usually have like a 10-year fit and finishes and a 1-year something else. I think it just depends on your new home builder though.
I think you're a little bit back. So it's
Is
one
am
year
I
fit and
backwards?
finish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 10-year structurals, 10
Oh
year.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. See?
So
Someone got it
so your
right.
fit and finish, it's when you're talking about your stucco. I mean, in
Mhm.
California, as we all know, we have earthquakes, and so the ground moves. And so with stucco, which is a hard material, they can crack. Well, if the cracks are a certain size, they will come back generally and will refog it, is what they call it, and color match. So always towards the end of your first year, you want to go through and just see if that's a smart thing you want to do for your new home. Well,
Mhm.
it's not your cost.
Yeah, exactly. Um, let's see. Did you notice? I feel like they're a lot better about this now, but when people were buying new homes like in 2005 to 2008, I felt like it wasn't immediately clear to people buying that there was like high Mello-Roos and the
Mm.
taxes were higher than they expected. And so they've changed for sure since then, but I feel like back then it wasn't explained very well to people.
I think it was harder then because it was a little bit newer, and so
Mhm.
people hadn't come across it. I think now because it is, I mean, really truly, when I'm looking at resale homes, if it's built after 2002, I'm looking for Mello-Roos. I'm looking to see if there's any costs. And
Yeah.
just so everybody knows, Mello-Roos is a cost of just a guy named Mello and a guy named Bruce who got together and said, should the builders pay all of these costs up front, or can they put it onto their buyers? And of course, the builders are going to put it on the buyers. So the
Mhm.
buyers don't have a vote at that point.
Mhm.
The builder can decide for this whole swath of homes, this is what the taxes are going to be. That just helps their bottom line because it's going to get paid for no matter what. And we're talking about fire stations, we're talking about schools, we're talking about all the infrastructure just to run out the sewers and your water systems and the electrical out to these new swaths of land. So I think I'm going to say that we still explained it because I was doing it, but I think maybe it didn't quite hit its head where people understood it.
Mhm.
Because it's been under 2%. I mean, that's the law now, is it has to be under 2%. So you'll see most builders are at 1.9, 1.95, 1.98,
Mhm.
just to keep it under that 2%.
Mhm. Is that collectively or just the Mello-Roos portion of it?
That's collectively. So your
The
ad
general
valorem, your base tax,
base
plus
plus
your, yeah,
okay.
yeah. So you should not see, at least in the state of California, taxes that are above 2%.
So, and then maybe this is a question, but I feel like I remember the Mello-Roos was almost like a flat cost based on square footage of the home.
Depends
So,
on how the builder did it. So yeah,
yeah.
that became a little bit of a problem in 2011, 2012 when prices came down
Mhm.
because they still had Melrose based on 2005 prices,
Yeah.
which were right at the top.
Right.
So when it came down in price, it was well over 2% because it was a
Exactly.
flat fee plus a
Yes.
percentage.
Yes.
Yeah,
So that whole 2% thing may not apply
not forever. If prices
to,
change, and I
yeah.
don't know, I'd have to double check my most recent sales in the new home, but I believe that they're all percentages now. I don't know if they're flat fees or percentages.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know.
So
Something we
that's,
still have to check for our buyers when we
yeah,
work with them.
yes, because that's important, right?
Yeah,
Taxes are
absolutely.
part of what you pay. They're, if you know what they are going in and you know exactly what your payment's going to be and you're still okay with it, that's in your budget,
Mhm. Mhm.
then you're good. If you didn't know about the taxes and now it's out of your budget,
Yeah.
bad.
Yes.
So
I agree with that. Um, what else?
I did pull up. So just in case everybody doesn't know, if you are a licensed realtor in California, you have access on your MLS. Like right now, I'm looking at New Home Professional. New Home Source Professional is something that we can see that can tell us approximately delivery dates for whole areas. I just checked 4 cities. So I checked Beaumont, Banning, Hemet, and San Jacinto, and there are 81 homes on here right now. So there's a lot of builders that are out there, depending on the area you're looking at. I do feel like that's one of the more busy areas, because our price point is still very good for getting in for first time buyers. But we are able to kind of look at everything at once. So that's another, I think, good reason for you to talk to a realtor to help you figure out what you want to do for new homes. They're not all created equal. I'm not here to disparage one over the other. But I would say drive around the neighborhoods once it's complete too, and just see how you feel.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of people, and it's so interesting that people have different aesthetic values. Like, I feel like a lot of people really love the new home neighborhood. They like moving in and making the friends and then, having a community. And then there's people like me where I'm like, bah, like, no community. I don't want to talk to my neighbors. I want to be left alone when I go home. So, there's that.
And you can do that in a new home community.
Sure, you can.
I wave at my neighbors. We're good about that. I don't know their names necessarily. But yeah, we say, hi, neighbor.
Oh, well, that's nice of you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
You just sneak into your house and like furtively look around.
I have basically one neighbor. The way my house is situated, I don't see any of my other neighbors. I just see the one across the street from me, and we're on a good high basis. But I don't really talk to anybody else. The one thing I do miss, though, because my house is kind of in a rural area, is that we don't have sidewalks. And, if I were ever to be in a new home community, I think it would be cool to have sidewalks.
Sidewalks and lights.
I got lights, no sidewalks though.
You also tend to have like a neighborhood mailbox, a big metal block. So if you are buying in a neighborhood, always make sure before you close that you know what your mailbox number is, where your mailbox is. So that you're not trying to walk around trying keys and everything.
Yeah, it's not always the closest one either. Kind of learned that. Yeah, it's not always the closest one to your home. You really have to pay attention to that.
But I think new homes, there's a lot of great things about them. As long as you're just aware of the things that aren't. I mean, you take, no matter what decision you make when you're purchasing a home, there's always, goods and bads, and you have to weigh to see what's most important to you. I do think incentives are definitely there to just continue to buy a new home, even if it's just for an investment for a few years. They do tend to hold value pretty well, unless it's 2006. But it is what it is. So I felt good. I bought my home in 2005. I feel like I put my money where my mouth is. I'm still in my home. I went through the waves, and just like anything, if you sell low, then you're going to lose everything. But like if you're investing in the stock market, and if you keep on investing and you ride through, then it will eventually right itself again, which it has.
I feel like if you've lived in your home since 2006, you're probably doing okay, because it's built,
it's gone well above that.
Yeah, it's gone well above that. So just like playing the long game on your home,
if you can,
you already went out. Yeah.
And sometimes you can't. And unfortunately, there are very few people and very few clients that I know that have been able to always buy at the best time to buy, because we only know 6 months after that was the best time to buy.
Yeah.
So you can play that game, or you can see what works with your budget and know that you're paying money towards something that is yours, where you have more equity every month, other than paying for somebody else's mortgage and giving them more equity every month.
I feel like the people who are buying new homes just really, they like the brand new home. I think that is the driver to really push them that direction. And then the way I see it as an agent is that the incentives, the lower interest rates that they offer temporarily, like in the current market, are really competitive with resale homes. So I see it that new homes could be a really good way to, you know, get a home that could be a good value.
And in the crazy competitive markets, when you're trying to buy resell and you're getting outbid,
Mm-hmm.
it's a good tactic that if you do like a new home builder, put your name on their list, even if it's a few hundred deep.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed how quickly they can go through that list, and you can get a home at a price that they have it listed for, because you're not playing a game. It is listed
Mm-hmm.
for that price and you buy it at that price.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, offering $10,000 to $15,000 above and hoping.
And I feel like also the prices are better when the new home builders just start building.
Yeah.
So they put them out in phases.
Mhm.
So phase 1, they use those sold values to like continue the upward prices as they
Incrementally. Yeah.
incrementally higher. And so if you see that a community is starting, I would suggest getting on that, like, you know, what is it? The interest
Interest
list.
list.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
interest list for that
And
brand new
occasionally people
community.
don't really like to look at a home based on, like, I mean, you could see a little map. You don't know what a plot map is. You don't know
Yeah.
what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
A lot of those builders have those same models in different locations. So if
Yes.
you just talk to their welcome home center person, then they're able to send you to another area locally where you can see it built and you can feel a lot better about your purchase.
Mm-hmm.
If you are able to see exactly from a plot map exactly how that home's going to look, good on you. There are a few of you, but just know that there are ways to still go out and see something and make sure it's what you want, because I know that that's a lot of what people are feeling if they're buying in the first phase. If they're buying and it's just from this, mobile home where they walk in and say, I want that one,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah. And it's hard to visualize the space and how you can live in it just from like a blueprint, right? Like,
Right.
oh, okay, cool. That's where everything's situated, but it doesn't feel like a home. And so I think also when we went recently to go visit some model homes, they had a lot of the bigger models built, but they didn't have the smaller ones, which were
Right.
cheaper. But don't let that stop you from trying to get one of those, because usually they'll have a home that's currently being built that is that model, and you can kind of walk through someone else's home that's currently being built to get an idea of what the space is like. But
And
I
that's,
noticed recently
yeah.
they don't build in the model homes the smallest ones.
Sometimes, occasionally, they would build what we would call a vignette. So a home that's in production that, yeah, kind of like what you said. It's not in the model complex, but it's something they've built so that you can wander through that. It may be somebody else's home, it may not. They may just be holding it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, go and see something in production. Even if it's just the walls, you can get a good idea of what things are going to be. I will say that the smallest your home ever looks like is when it's just the concrete. Second smallest is when they put up the walls. So until they drywall, and I don't know what magic happens, but when they put that drywall up, all of a sudden the room seems bigger again. But when it's just the walls, it's just concrete, especially. Yeah, you just think like that. There's no way that's the same size.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's no way. Then they wall it, and you're like, yeah, it's really small. Are you really sure? And then they put the drywall. Like, yeah, this is nice. Weirdest thing.
That is weird. I didn't know that. Thank you. I had no idea.
I had constantly clients coming to the office like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, we're sure. It's okay. The other thing we used to have all the time is there's tends to be a plug that's upside down. And I would have clients come and be like, I think that the electrician might have been a little drunk, because in each room there's one that's upside down. The reason they do that is it's called a half hot. So basically there's a plug that's tied into a switch on the wall. And so that that's the one to plug into if you want to tie it into the switch on the wall. It's to help so that you don't have to plug into every single one when the switch is on.
That makes sense.
The more you know.
Mm-hmm.
You got us any other cool points about new homes?
Let me see. I would say, I'm looking through my notes. I would say ask a lot of questions. So with the recent purchase with one of my clients, the builders kept saying that these certain things were included free, like a smart home, Alexa, the tablet on the wall, like a lot of services saying that they were included. it wasn't until after the purchase had finished that the guy that came by, the tech to come set it all up, he was like, oh yeah, it's free for 1 year. And the clients were like, that's not what they said. They never gave a time limit on when it was included and free. He's like, yeah, it's only 1 year. I was like,
And then
oh
what? They come
no.
back and they take the tablet? What do they do?
I don't think so. The service just turns off. Like, you know how you get like a pro, the all the features,
Right.
but they didn't say that. They didn't say that, oh, you get the pro everything features for 1 year for free. And then after that, it's less functional. You know, I feel like my clients would have been okay with either way, but it wasn't
But at
fully
least make it
explained.
clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It wasn't made clear. Yeah. So that
It's
part
like
was
getting
like
serious, and then all of a sudden they want to bump up your price. And you're like, no,
yeah.
I want to pay less. Come on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
anything else you got on homes? Otherwise, I have our rando things.
No, I think I'm good. I think I covered my stuff. Rando things,
Awesome.
bring it.
Rando things. Well, today is National Pumpkin Day, October 26th. So it's quite appropriate. What's on your cup right now? Is there
Happy
pumpkin?
fall, y'all.
And we were talking about Sancho having a pumpkin head.
Yes.
It was meant to be. Today is National Pumpkin Day. October 29th is World Cat Day. So love extra on your cats on October 29th. The name October got its name from the Latin word octo, which as we know means 8. And this is based on the early Roman calendar.
Oh, so did it start in March?
It didn't tell me more than that. I'm guessing that October used to be the 8th month.
Okay.
I'll find out more for us next time. The World Series of Baseball begins in October. More United States presidents have been born in October more than any other month.
Weird.
This includes Jimmy Carter, Rutherford B. Hayes, Chester A. Arthur, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Theodore Roosevelt, and John Adams. The Yosemite National Park was created by the United States Congress on October 1st, 1890.
Wow.
And Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1 probe into orbit on October 4th, 1957. And the owl is the bird of the month October.
Ooh, I like that.
I didn't know that other months had official birds.
Me neither.
But I do like knowing that it's the owl for October.
I really like that. I love owls. They're so cool. I love it.
So thank you, our third nerd, for joining us on this podcast, webinar, web series, whatever we're calling it at this point today.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. And take a moment, subscribe, join, give us ideas. We're here for you. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
This is
Until next time.
In3NerdsWeTrust. In3NerdsWeTrust.
3. Bye-bye. And that brings us to the end of another exciting episode of In 3 Nerds We Trust. Thank you for listening and hanging out with us today. If you have any questions or topic suggestions, reach out to us at in3nerdswetrust@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, so don't hesitate to reach out. If you found some value in today's episode and want to stay connected, here are a few ways you can do that. Subscribe to In3NerdsWeTrust on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Leave us a rating and review on any of the platforms. Your feedback helps us improve and reach a wider audience. Share this episode with friends, family, or anyone who might enjoy the thoughts and insights we shared today. We'll have a new episode every other week, so please stay tuned for more interesting topics. Thanks again for your support, and follow us on Instagram and YouTube as well. Bye!